Hola, Andrew.
Hola, ¿cómo está?
¿Cómo está? My name is Renee McFarland Hageland. I am the Community Outreach Coordinator for Liberty, Justice, and for All. And my friend Andrew Cisneros.
Yeah.
He and I met when we were making signs for a Trump protest here in Rapid City. I helped make that sign.
Mm-hmm.
Quite a protest it was. We are in my living room this morning, and we're talking about the importance of voting for anyone other than Trump in this coming election. We specifically want to send this message to the Hispanics that are residing here in the United States, 36 million of them. 36 million.
Yes.
And Andrew's going to...
That are registered
to vote. I'd like to ask you a few questions, if I could, this morning, Andrew.
Yes.
Trump called Hispanics criminals.
Yes.
Are you a criminal?
Nope. I've worked all my life. I had a very profitable company, and I had that for probably 40 years until I got cancer and I had to shut it down. But no, not a criminal. In fact,
you ministered to criminals, though, didn't you?
I worked in the Colorado prison ministry for 21 years, ministering to guys that were in prison. And you know what? Even some of them I wouldn't consider criminals. They got caught up in a lifestyle that they got sucked into it and ended up in prison. You know, and even the correctional department wanted to know why what we did changed those individuals, where nothing in their system would have effect on those individuals. And you know what? It was because we loved them and accepted them exactly where they were. We didn't ask them to change or anything. We just accepted and loved them unconditionally. And that's what fermented the change in those individuals. And they looked at themselves. They did the changing themselves.
Well, we're here today to talk about change, and so I'm glad you brought that up. I'm a fourth generation McFarland. I am the great-great-granddaughter of immigrants myself. And I'm not an animal, though Trump has been referring to Hispanics as animals, equating them to dogs. And he even wants to take these people seeking asylum and putting them in concentration camps. Who does that remind you of?
I think there was a person in the past in history, I think his name was Hitler.
Oh.
Yeah, that did the same thing with the Jews, you know, put them in concentration camps. And you know what? If we lose all our liberties and stuff, that could happen here in the United States. You know, a lot of people say, it can never happen, but I'll tell you what, Trump put people in power to create a dictatorship, to do his will, exactly what Hitler did. He destroyed the economy in Germany so that people would rebel and come to his aid. And, you know, and that's exactly what Trump is doing. He's trying to destroy the economy, trying to turn people against each other, to kill each other, and to create a dictatorship. It was very evident on January 6th of what he was trying to do.
It sure was. I wonder if the people that are serving time right now for their involvement in January 6th think of themselves as an animal. They were whipping boys, weren't they?
Yeah.
You know, you mentioned liberties, and there's one liberty in particular that I would like to talk about. Donald Trump was convicted of 34 felonies recently. You can't even join the military if you have a felony. And we have a 34-time felon who's running for president. And let me just take that a little bit further. He's a sex offender. What is the message that you want to tell the Hispanic community about a sex offender who is running for president of the United States?
How would you feel if you had a daughter and somebody did that to your daughter? Just answer that question. What would you feel? Huh?
And, we're just right smack dab in the middle of Pride Month. And I think about the two-spirit LGBTQ community who their liberties are at risk right now.
Yes.
And it reminds me of Matthew Shepard's story in Laramie, Wyoming, who was tied to a fence and beaten until he died. I encourage you, when you think about Matthew and think about what happened to him, all because he was gay, I want you to read that story about him. You can find it anywhere on the internet. But I want you to replace Matthew's name with one of your children's names. And that is similar to what you just said.
Yes. You know, what it really comes down to is we have to respect each other, no matter what our differences are. We have to respect and honor people for who they are. It doesn't matter if they're Hispanic, white, black, gay. Accept and love them. And Trump won't do any of those.
No, he won't. I've always said, imagine if we spoke as nicely and respectfully to our family as we did to our favorite customer. What a great world that would be. But Trump doesn't have a favorite customer. He is his own favorite customer. And he's a liar, isn't he?
Oh my God, he's a liar. He called the Hispanic animals. But you know what? Trump is the animal. Putting children in cages, separating them from their families. And what he's doing now, the very people that are looking for asylum are the ones that we're sending back to the hell they came from. It's just absurd.
It's sending them home to die, to be killed. It is.
Exactly. And one of the things that I wanted to say about him being the animal, he is the serpent. That all that comes out of his mouth is nothing but lies and stupidity that comes out of his mouth. It's just one lie after another, and it just keeps going and going and going.
Trump is running on a platform of lies and fear. I'm not afraid of Trump.
I'm not either.
But I am afraid of what will happen to the women in the United States, the young girls, the little girls, the girls my age who aren't so much a girl anymore, with his stance on pro-life. I think it's interesting because pro-life to me means a lifelong peace and harmony and respect and equality. It's pro-choice.
Yes, I agree.
But I have two little granddaughters. I'm sure you have a few yourself.
Yes.
And right now, with Kristi Noem and Donald Trump here in South Dakota, if one of my granddaughters were to be raped and impregnated, I would have to take them to another state to get the medical help they need. But if Trump gets his way, we'd have to take them to another country, or else they would have unsafe backroom abortions, which we know has a high mortality rate. How do you feel about pro-choice, Andrew?
Well, I'm pro-choice all the way. The women's rights, they've had it so rough in a male-dominated world that even Trump now is making it even worse. Their liberties are all taken away, and so pro-choice is giving the women the rights they deserve. From the very beginning of time, in the Bible it talks about I hereby put fire and water before you. Choose. We don't have the right to tell a woman what to do. That is her choice. That is her right to choose. We don't know the footsteps and what's happened in her life to call judgment or whatever on her. It's up to her. Her free will choice given to her by God.
Andrew, as a female, I have less rights over my body than a gun owner has over his guns. But guns kill people.
Yes.
And pro-choice saves people's lives. So that means that we have to do what in November?
We have to vote. I encourage all Hispanic voters to get out and vote. Did you know that 36 million Hispanics are registered to vote? A lot of people say, one vote won't count, but let me tell you what. You take that one vote and multiply it 36 million times, that's enough to overturn any election. But you know what? We have to speak with one voice. We have to unite ourselves and speak with one voice. We Hispanics have, for the first time in the history of the United States, have the power to overcome anything in the United States and overturn the elections, but we have to speak with one voice.
Let's talk a little bit about our shortage of workers here in the United States. You know, I know restaurants right now that have had to shorten their hours. I know hotels that cannot rent all of their rooms. I know farmers who have crops in the fields that are rotting. And the list goes on and on.
Yes.
And one thing that I found to be true is that immigrants that come to the United States aren't expecting free handouts. They're not expecting a free place to live. They're certainly not expecting free health care. What they're expecting is humanity, to treat them with respect and give them the opportunity to earn $1 and feed their family. But you have some statistics regarding our unemployment right now. Can you talk about that with me?
Well, the specifics. Basically, we're talking about the immigrants coming to the United States. They're not criminals. They come here to work because they want a better life. The people that we're sending them back to the hellhole that they came from. The very people that seeking asylum that we should be giving them asylum, we're sending them back. And you talk about the immigration being broken. I don't know. We should adopt Canada's, the way they implement immigration up there. In fact, most of the employers, they sponsor the individuals coming in. In fact, when they land in Canada, they have a job waiting for them. And that's what the United States has got to do, is not a single penny comes out of the Canadian government. It's all the businesses that sponsor the people, and they have a job the minute that they land in Canada. And the reason I know that is because I married a Mexican woman, and her son wanted to go to Canada, and we looked up everything. I looked into all the immigration of Canada, and they have a wonderful immigration program, and not a single penny comes out of the government.
Well, we both know that there's plenty of jobs waiting for people.
Yes.
And we as citizens need to do a few things. We need to, number one, vote in November.
Yes.
And we need to vote blue. We need to welcome the asylum seekers.
Yes.
And just give them a job and let them work and let them feed their families, and escape the terror and the sure death that they're facing. And we need to make sure that when we vote, we don't vote for a liar, we don't vote for a womanizer, we don't vote for a sex offender, and we don't vote for a dictator. So who does that mean we vote for?
Biden.
Biden. We're riding with Biden.
Yes.
Andrew, thank you so much
Well,
for
thank you
visiting
for
with me
having-
this morning.
yeah, thank you
Thanks for
having me.
coming to my home. Mi casa, su casa.
Hey.